welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic and I'm a stroke survivor too. Lucky me. um, okay, so it is December 3rd, and I have yet to provide the December book and the December listener challenge. So here we go. The December book for the Recovery Daily Podcast Book Club is called The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. And this is by an author named Michael A. Singer and Peter Berkrot. And it seems like there's other authors as well. So, spiritual teacher Michael A. Singer explores the question of human identity and shows how the development of consciousness can enable us all to dwell in the present moment and achieve happiness and self-realization. Sounds like it's right up our alley, if I don't say so myself. So that is the December book, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael A. Singer. And the December listener challenge, I wanted to be a bit reflective because it's December and we're coming to the end of the year. We've done listener challenges all year. So I thought it would be nice to reflect on our growth over the year. So I have put together some questions for you to answer and just kind of take some time to look at how you may have used some of the tools that we talk about in the podcast in order to be inspired to grow emotionally, spiritually, what have you. So that's the second time I've ever said what have you. Okay, number one. What is one challenge you've overcome this year, and what tools helped you succeed? And I'll put these in the description of the episode down there. Okay. Number two, what have you learned about yourself that surprised or inspired you this year? Number three, who has supported you the most this year, and how can you show gratitude towards them? Number four, what is one area where you've grown emotionally, spiritually, or physically? Number five, what would you like to carry forward into the new year from this year's progress? So like let's pick your favorite thing that you've gained over the year and you want to make sure that you don't lose that. Number six, how have setbacks helped shape your growth or resilience? Number seven, what does self-care look like for you now compared to a year ago? Mine looks a lot different. Number eight, how can you continue to rise and take others with you in your journey? That's more of like a free-form text answer. So take some time to, if you want to write it down, that you get extra credit for that. But just think about it. If you don't want to be an overachiever and write it down, think about the answers to these questions. And if you have somebody that you want to partner up with to talk about these things and how you may have grown over the past year, fantastic. I am always here to support. Should anybody want to send me an email or send me a message on social media and reflect on your growth. And I think that this is really, really critical for us to look at our growth because it gets exhausting if we're always looking forward. Like I talked yesterday about the journey has no finish line for those in recovery, and how we get to these mile markers and then we kind of take a breath. Okay, I made it this far. And then we take another step. So, where do we actually pause and look at our growth and give ourselves a pat on the back? Like, that's what I think is so important about this. You remember, you longtime listeners, when I would put a sticker on my mirror when I felt hope in a day. And to think back on that, it makes me sad that that's how much I was struggling. And I'm quite certain I will get to that point again in my life. But it was really a fun way of rewarding myself for thinking positive. Like otherwise, it's not tangible. This like, oh yeah, I feel pretty good today. It actually was like a way for me to pause and capture that feeling, reward myself with a sticker that I couldn't get off my mirror, but I finally did. But anyway, I think it's important to look back and acknowledge our growth. So that is our listener challenge this month. And I will probably not review all those questions again in an additional episode. So I will put the questions again in the description. And yeah, maybe I'll send it out on social media. Who knows? Who knows? It'll be a surprise. Okay, so what's the topic today, Rachel? Well, I'll tell you. What I wanted to talk about today is a couple things. I wanted to talk about how when I came into the program and thus far, trouble was been evolving for me into an asset. Like before I got sober, trouble was something that weighed me down, something that like pulled on my parachute, like if I just if what I was picturing in my head is I just sky dove off of a airplane with a parachute and I've landed and now I'm walking and something's like holding my parachute is snagged on something. Like that is what trouble is to me. I don't know why I had that in my head, but that's what I had. And maybe the episode picture will be of that too, for no reason other than it just came into my head. Anyway, I wanted to talk about how trouble has evolved into something that is an asset in our lives because when we're practicing the program in all of our affairs, trouble is how we get better. You know, um, what I heard this morning in my meetings, we were talking about how um, everybody in the fellowship, and I consider those of you who are listening, I guess that's all of you, or else you wouldn't hear me. Um, I consider all, you know, I consider all of you a fellowship to me also. And even though it's like I'm the only one talking, like a lot of you do reach out to me, but it's a fellowship, right? And we have a singleness of purpose here, just like in my sobriety program, we have a singleness of purpose. And there is something that we were talking about this morning that comes with that. When you have a group of people that are all joining together for one reason. And what I feel like, in my sobriety program, it's not just to not pick up a drink. It's about learning how to live without picking up a drink and how to manage all of those feelings that used to quote unquote make us pick up a drink. Well, what I feel like our singleness of purpose here is to be better human beings for ourselves. And then as a result, we are better human beings for other people. Like I started this podcast because I needed help, because I could not deal with what was happening on the inside of me. I had to talk about it. I was desperate. I started this podcast because I was desperate. I needed to talk, and I needed an unlimited amount of time to talk about the pain, because I was so freaking devastated by how my life just turned upside down. And everything I had known and planned for was just ripped out from my grip. And I needed something to do. I needed something to channel that energy towards. And as I continue to talk about my feelings in recovery, I talk a lot about sobriety because it's really the foundation of what carries me through stroke recovery also. Um, but as I talk about this stuff, you guys are picking it up. Like you guys are listening. I have some people that I talk to that may have heard an episode a while back, and they say something like, maybe I'll hear somebody share in the meeting like, yeah, I mean, I think what I need to do is just like Rachel says, like turn off my wanter. And I'm just like, what? That is so cool because it shows me that we do have a singleness of purpose. Like we're all trying to take one step at a time and and process feelings, because they're so freaking complex. A lot of my early episodes were about feelings, and I want to go back to that stuff, because it never gets old for me. So, anyway, I think that when we have a group of people with singleness of purpose, there is this implicit trust that we have in each other. And I heard somebody say that this morning. There is no what I was hearing this morning was, how when a friend, let's say you've had a friend for a really long time, it's somebody that you went to high school with or college, let's say college. So that friend and you, like you see each other on and off, you like have a plan to go to a restaurant, so we're gonna meet on Thursday night, we're gonna go to a restaurant and we'll eat. We haven't seen each other for a couple months. And then like the day before or the day of, you get a text from that friend and she or he says, I can't make it tonight. I'm so sorry. I can't make it tonight. And what is your reaction to that? Like, mine is negative. Okay. Mine is like, well, she's not going to give me a reason why. Like, why the hell can't she come? You know, there, I'm doubting. I'm doubting why. And it's because of my history with that person. And it could be I had a history of drinking with that person, or I've had a history of that person always cancels on me, or I don't know. I don't know. But when I have the same scenario and I'm supposed to meet somebody in my sobriety program on Thursday, for some reason, if they call me and tell me the day before or the day of, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it, I don't have those negative feelings. I just have this forgiveness, this immediate forgiveness. Like, oh, it's fine because I trust that they are prioritizing whatever it is they need to do for themselves or for their family. And it's okay, and we just reschedule. Isn't that weird? It's kind of weird to me. You know what it is? I'm a little ashamed of it. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because I'm a little ashamed of the fact that I may not trust somebody who tells me, um, no, I'm sorry, I can't make it, and doesn't give me a reason why. It's nobody needs to tell me why, right? Because I learn in the program that no is a full sentence. Like no is, that's all you need. You don't need to tell somebody why. But I have a tendency to doubt people. Well, what the subject that came up today was about these four absolutes. It's called the four absolutes. And I think I've heard somebody mention this before, and I didn't know what it was. I think there's even a book on it, the four absolutes. So I looked it up, and these are like guiding principles that came out of some group that was a part of founding AA, is what my understanding is. And these are like moral benchmarks for self-reflection and action in recovery. So the four absolutes are honesty, unselfishness, love, and purity. And I'll explain what I found out that they mean. But I think there is this like the principles of the program, honesty is like a huge part of that. And so I feel like if I'm talking to somebody or I have plans with somebody who's been in the program for a while and they're sober, then if they tell me they're not going to do something, like I have this trust that whatever, not only will I say it's okay, but I'll say, is there anything I can do for you? Like I offer because it's not typical that somebody would cancel on me if they're somebody who's sober. I'm just telling you the truth. Like this is what I feel. So, anyway, I wanted to talk about that a little bit, or I guess I am talking about that a little bit. I don't know. My head is in a weird space today. But this idea of fellowship and how it's so much easier for me to be trusting and kind and practice the principles with the people in my program. Like, I understand when somebody in the program rubs me the wrong way and I get irritated. I understand that there's something wrong with me. It's not them, if there's something wrong with me. I need to pray on it. I need to talk to my sponsor about it. I need to do something, take some sort of action to process that feeling. Am I responding instead of reacting? Like all of this stuff that we talk about for the sobriety program. But when I'm talking to somebody outside of the program, all of that seems to go out the window. No, I mean, I don't all of a sudden treat people like crap, but I'm not so automatic to lean into trust and kindness. And if somebody irritates me outside of the program, I have a hell of a hard time thinking, okay, there's something wrong with me. Not not them. Something's wrong with me. I need to pray on it. I don't react that way when it's people outside of the program. And that is like a certain sort of that's a judgment. Like I'm passing judgment on people who are not sober, and that's not okay. You know, I need to, when it says practicing these principles in all of my affairs, it means all of my affairs, not just my affairs with other people who are practicing these principles as well. Like, how do I deal with people out at the store? I'll give you an example. When I went to the Christmas market, I don't know if I told you guys this or not, but if I already did, humor me. So my husband dropped me off at the Christmas market at the Expo Center in Chantilly. And so I went in there, I was meeting my sponsor there. When I was walking in the front door, so I had just been there a hot second. I was walking in the front door and let's see what happened. Okay, I was going in on the right side. So here in America, we go in the right-hand door. That's typically how it's set up, where the right-hand door is the in and the left-hand door is out. So we're always going into the door on the right. Anyway, that's what I was doing. I was going, and it said in. I believe it even had a sticker that said in. So I'm walking up and I pull the door open. And as I'm pulling the door open towards me, this other lady is coming out that door towards me. And she comes like pushing through. She didn't touch me, but she comes like barreling through so that I kind of moved myself to the side to let her go. And she said the F word and she called me the B word. Yes, she did that. And it took me about 20 minutes to get over that. Like, I just stood there like, did that just really happen? And I thought, okay, I need to pray for her. I did think that. I thought something is really wrong with her. But then I thought, like, screw that, I'm not praying for her. What a horrible, horrible biatch. That's what I was thinking. And I was just walking through and I'm like, that's terrible that that is the beginning. I have been looking forward to this day for like a month. And that was my introduction to the day. I'm walking through the door and the lady calls me a B word and says the F word. And I was just like in shock, I think. And I think that's probably part of the issue with practicing principles in all of my affairs with people who are outside of the program. Because if something negative happens, it's usually abrupt and it shocks me. So I can think of lots of different examples. Remember that guy who lives in my neighborhood who walks his dog and he's just a nasty person who, like, when we were standing with our dogs one day, he yelled across the street to some lady who was on the phone and started telling her that she needed to be quiet or something like that. Like, it happens so abruptly and strangely that it's hard to practice the principles right away. It's hard to have my reaction, my automatic reaction to be principle based, right? So, anyway, I don't know where that's going. It's just that when other people don't have that same singleness of purpose, when people are going through life and their main goal is not to be a better human being, um, it's difficult, right? It's difficult. Um, I heard somebody this morning say the quality of my problems have changed in sobriety. And that's true. Um, the the interaction with that lady at the Expo Center, if that's what my biggest problem while I'm getting ready to start my adventure at the Christmas market, like that's pretty good that that's my biggest problem that day. So I get it that the quality of my problems has changed. And I think that somebody else said this morning, you can't hurt me if I hurt you first. So that's really I did that for a long time. If I found out, for example, that like a neighbor of mine was moving, this is the best example I have right now. There was a neighbor of mine that I was really good friends with, and she was moving. And when I found out she was moving, I just cut off all contact. She lived like diagonal from me. I just cut off all contact. I was like, that's it, rip the band-aid off. I don't want to have anything to do. Like, that's all. She didn't deserve that. Um, and she approached me and asked me, like, why are you doing this? Why are you not talking to me anymore? And got honest with her and I told her, like, I'm ripping the band-aid off. Like, just go. Don't let the door hit you, you know? Um, anyway, all of this I think is a bunch of I'm just kind of unloading right now, but I'm just thinking about all of my interactions with people and how difficult it is to practice the principles in all of my affairs. With that lady that was moving, my friend that was moving, um, it was hard for me to be kind. But the reason why it was hard was because I was hurt. Um, my abandonment issue was rearing its ugly head, and I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to process that abandonment issue. Um, I didn't know how to process this lady coming barreling out of the Christmas market. I think that and I'm kind of talking off the cuff and figuring this out as I'm talking, it seems like when I don't know how to process the emotion, or even when I don't know what the emotion is that needs to be processed, I can't practice the principles in whatever affair that is. Yeah. So I may be onto something. It may be that I need to figure out a canned response to situations that I don't understand. If somebody abruptly tells me the F word and calls me a B word, and all I'm doing is trying to go Christmas shopping for my family and my friends, come up with some sort of canned response. Like what I think off the cuff would be probably not nice. It would be killing them with kindness, and it would probably cause her to say a few more curse words to me. So it would have to be something really honest and something that that carries the message of the program in it. So maybe I can think about that this evening. Think about what is a canned response that carries the message of the principles of the program in situations where I have been knocked off my kilter, like knocked off my feet, misaligned because somebody has made me feel something that I don't understand. The lady at the Christmas market made me feel hate, really. It wasn't just anger. It was, I immediately ran across somebody that treated me with hatred. Talk about something that's going to throw your balance off. How can I react to something like that? I'm going to figure it out. And when somebody tells me I'm going to move, I know we've been best friends for several years now. I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. Like, what is my response to that? I was so hurt. And yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to think about that. Huh. Let's see. I'm going to actually put that down. So I'm typing as we speak. This is live action. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about um, a canned response when someone makes me feel something I don't understand. Whoops, understand. I can't type while you're knocking my hand, Autumn. Understand, like anger. Oh, like hatred. That's such an ugly word. And what was the other one? Autumn, stop it. The other one was the sadness from the neighbor. Okay, so you have to stay tuned tomorrow. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so just to close it, come full circle, I wanted to share with you these four absolutes. So they serve as more moral benchmarks for self-reflection and action in recovery. I do have to tell you that this is straight from Chatty, so keep that in mind. And this is what they have: honesty, being truthful with yourself and others, acknowledging reality. Whoa. That's a part of honesty, acknowledging reality. Interesting. And taking ownership of your actions. All of that falls under honesty. Number two, unselfishness, acting in ways that prioritize the needs and well-being of others without selfish motives. The third absolute is love, practicing unconditional love, compassion, and empathy towards yourself and others. And purity. Sorry, Autumn is leaning in as hard as she can to get petted, to get scratched. Um, Purity, striving for clean thoughts, motives, and actions, aiming to align with your highest moral and spiritual values. That is hilarious. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't even like thinking bad things. I don't. I don't like thinking bad things. Um, some people don't think very think it's bad to think bad things as long as you don't do bad things. I don't think so. I think that we shouldn't think bad things. I'd be interested to know what you guys think. So if any of you are so inclined, I would love you to send me a message on social media and tell me whether you think it's not a big deal to think bad things, and as long as you don't do the bad things, or if you strive to not think bad things either. I'd be interested to know what you think. So these principles, Chatty says, are not explicitly part of the official AA program, but they are still used by some members as tools for personal growth and accountability and sobriety. I think there's a book about the four absolutes. I'm not quite sure. I need to educate myself on that. So anyway, what's the point of the four absolutes? Like, I feel, even though I'm first, like, this is the first time I've been introduced to the details of the four absolutes. These are in the program. All of these things that are mentioned here are in the program. Yeah, they're all kind of rolled into it. So I think that's why I feel like it's so much easier to practice the principles when I'm dealing with other people who are practicing the principles too, right? I think that's my point. So, what was I going to make the image of? It was going to be, oh, shoot. Now I can't remember what it was supposed to be. Oh, the person. Okay, so the image of the episode is going to be somebody who dove out of an airplane and their parachute is hooked on something as they're walking away from where they landed. Okay, this is fun. This is what we do here. Okay, I don't know. I'm in a weird headspace today. My mom and my sister came over and I made them some soup and some pumpkin spice and brown sugar cake. And I think it was a lot for my head, so I'm reaching here. I'm doing too much. And Autumn's here now. For those of you who are not on the video, she came to give me a kiss. Okay, thanks for listening. I will talk to you tomorrow.